Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Brothgar here, playing Firefall. Now, one thing that you always have to start off doing is thumpers. I mean, materials are all a part of this game, and let's face it, the stock thumper is something that's kind of boring. You get about 2 mobs at a time, you probably got about 5 people hanging around, and if you're an engineer, you can pretty much just sit on turrets. It's kind of boring. However, the tier 1 thumper is a completely different story. Here I've placed it, and I've actually teamed up with Kestros here. And yeah, pretty much just because the tier 1 is so much harder. It does require, it says 1 to 2 people, and then about tier 1 gear. And as you see my character here, I've got a couple skills that are upgraded to tier 1, and then I've got a gun that's upgraded. I got about 5 into all my different stats, 5 levels. So that's power, servos, and CPU. At any rate, yeah, it was a little bit too much for me, so I ended up teaming with this guy, and plus he was on a really sweet spot. I think we had about 89 or something material. And I know from a fact when we completed this a little bit before, is that we got about 500 of the loot we were going after, with a bit of sifted earth. Now, one thing you can notice right off the bat is all these different mobs. There's a much higher quantity of mobs coming in, but ultimately this isn't too crazy. I mean, I could handle this by myself, and I was doing just fine. But of course, things start to change right about you get to thumper status 65-70%. And that's pretty much when the hardest moments come when you're thumping. So ultimately, yeah, we're just kind of hanging out here. You can see we get a couple of the exploding aliens or whatever these things are. I don't know what they are. Land crabs or something. And you'll get some of these other guys that like to crawl into the ground, so we're trying out hammers and whatnot, seeing if we can't dig them out of the ground, and just kind of being creative on how we're taking out the aliens here, just because this is a little bit more of a lull and it's not quite as exciting. But another thing to note is that when we did complete the stock thumper, the timer was up. The tier 1 thumper, the timer was up to where I could place it right down again, whereas the stock thumper seems to have a longer timer, so you kind of need 2 of them on hand if you just want to continuously place them down over and over again. Now, another new thing here is that you have flying mobs, and these things will kind of tear up your thumper if you don't take them out real quick. So you kind of got to keep an AoE on hand, and then a weapon that's going to be more accurate for taking out those high-flying characters. So things are starting to get more difficult now. Bring out the AoE cannons and start laying down some fire. But we'll see here that things are gonna really take a turn, even for the worse again. We start getting these guys, the lizard-spitting dudes. These guys take a big clip just to take them down. So both of us now are pretty much just reloading and gunning about as fast as we can. And then we get a nice break here. But notice that status, it's up to about 60% now, so things are going to get hard. Off in the distance, of course, a Brontodon decides to come visit us. Now, I'm not so sure that this is really part of the tier 1 thumper as far as everything that spawns in. It happens to be in the right, these Brontodons happen to be in the right place at the right time to mess us up. Now, one Brontodon by himself isn't a big deal. I was able to take him out, and I think one came last time. I'm not sure if it's in the path, but I had my HR or whatever it is, my buff move going on here. But you notice that the Elder decided to come too, so great. Another thing to notice is when I was firing off those cannons there is that the rocks, I was actually hitting them in mid-air, which is just really cool that, I mean, an MMO would this have this much level of accuracy. But now I turn around, I see Krotos is getting a beating, and that only means one thing. The roly-polies have decided to come, and they're just having some sort of crazy, like, alien orgy on his face here pretty soon, and game over for him. So at this point, we could say the crap has hit the fan, and there's just no way I'm going to be able to handle all this stuff. We got the big roly-poly, and you got one that shoots fire, so I got to send this thing back, and boom! Check that out. I get it just in time. Talk about clutch. So there you have it. That's the tier 1 thumper, and if you're thinking about upgrading to that tier 1, be ready for a good fight. It's a whole lot more interesting than your stock thumper. Thanks for watching. I'm Brothgar. Have a great day.